All right. Everything aligns in this show, man. If you know one thing about the show, everything is just in chronological order. And we're going to stay in that chronological order here, talking about DeAndre Hopkins with a twist to it. Now, the question that we have to start off the second half of this show: which wide receiver will have the better season in 2003? Excuse me, not 2003. It's not 1999 anymore. 2023. Will that be Odell Beckham Jr. or D Hop? Zach, once again, you can start us off.
Yeah, so I think this is a really interesting question. I think it's appropriate to put both of these guys in the same category, considering they were in a similar situation, right? Both big name wide receivers that have done a lot on the field throughout their career, but they're a little older now and they're looking for a new team. And with Odell Beckham, I think it's interesting because there are just a lot of unknowns, right? We haven't seen this guy on the field since the Rams won the Super Bowl. That's over a year ago now. And then you also look at DeAndre Hopkins in the sense that, he got suspended for PEDs last year. He's getting older as well. And we were all trying to figure out which team he was going to go to. And also with OBJ, he's in an offense now that is going to pass the ball way more than they've ever had. And their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, he has the best group of weapons around him that he's ever had. So with OBJ, there are a lot of question marks. I still honestly don't really know exactly how to feel about Beckham and the Ravens and their offense in general this year. There are just a lot of question marks. There are a lot of unknowns. But I do have some thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins and his decision to sign with the Tennessee Titans, right? And I think after this news came down and we saw his initial decision, the main conclusion I had is he wanted to get the most money possible, which is fine, right? Like everyone has their own priorities and what they want to do. But the other takeaway I had was I'm never going to believe any player ever again when he's a free agent and he's talking about all the things that he values, right? And what he's looking for, because DeAndre Hopkins said he's looking to go to a place with stable management. Well, the Titans fired their GM in the middle of last year. He wants to go to a team with the quarterback who loves the game. I like Ryan Tannehill. I'm sure he loves the game, but are we sure that Ryan Tannehill is going to be the Titans quarterback throughout the season? Because I'm not. He looks like a lame duck quarterback to me. And then he wants a great defense because defense wins championships. Okay, I think the Titans defense is pretty good, but are they a championship caliber defense? I'm not too sure. So I'm never going to believe anyone again when they're a free agent and he's talking about, what he really values. And the Titans, when I just look at them as a team, like they are just going in the wrong direction right now. Tannehill's a lame duck quarterback. I don't think he's going to play throughout the year. This is a team that had the division lead halfway through last year. They were 7-4, and then they ended the season with 7 straight losses. And to me, this was a move that was made by a coach in Mike Vrabel who doesn't really want to take a small step back right now in order to take a big step forward in the future. Because what this move told me is that he still believes this Titans team is pretty close to winning something. I don't feel that way. I think the Jaguars are clearly the best team in the AFC South right now, and I don't really see a way, honestly, with DeAndre Hopkins on Tennessee or not, that they don't win this division. And I still really do believe that Mike Vrabel was really, I don't want to say the culprit, but he had a lot to do with why John Robinson got fired, and that's because he did enough coaching on the field to get that juice. And it's clear that the owner feels very comfortable putting any important decision this franchise has to make in Mike Vrabel's hands. But this is why I hate the term competitive rebuild, because if the Titans wanted a wide receiver, they should have just never traded A.J. Brown. They would be in a much better position right now, still with A.J. Brown, opposed to drafting Treylon Burks and signing DeAndre Hopkins, which was kind of another reason why I didn't love this move, is because the Titans have some young skill position players, right? They have Burks. They have a really good young tight end in Chig Okonkwo. I want to see those guys get as many reps, as many catches as possible. I think Hopkins could stunt that. And honestly, I think there's a good chance we could be looking back at this move as a move that's in the same range as Julio Jones signing with Tennessee, as Randy Moss signing with Tennessee, as Andre Johnson signing with Tennessee, wide receivers that are just clearly past their prime. I don't think this move really moves the needle for the Titans at all. So kind of by the process of elimination, I'm going to go with OBJ just because I think the ceiling is higher and there are just a lot more things that we don't know a ton about when it comes to Baltimore this season.
I think Odell Beckham Jr. should have the better season, but I would slightly lean D Hop. right? And I do want to touch on that point that you brought up about Julio before I actually even proceed with that take right there. Because when you talk about Julio, right, it's funny how, the perception, like I kept bringing up, the perception matters, right? Perception is everything. It's how we view you. But Julio, he was never on the field in Tennessee. He never was. And when he got on the field at times, he made some catches. Tannehill threw some decent balls in there, but every time never was on the field. And it sounds pretty familiar because I'm a Buccaneer fan, and he couldn't stay on the field on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. Right? He made that one big play week one against the Dallas Cowboys. It was a deep pass from Tom Brady to him. Very excellent catch right there. Good eye coordination, good hands. And guess what? The next play, he got hurt. I actually think he got hurt on that play that he connected on. So he could never stay on the field. So if you can never stay on the field, you're not going to be productive to any team that you're on, not being available. Right. So I won't really put that Julio, situation, especially when you talk about they traded for him. So they gave a second round pick and another pick, mid-level pick as well. So, that's like a bad move. This one is a flyer. And I think for me, when you talk about Odell and D Hop and you compare them, clearly, I would probably say clearly Odell, I would take his career over clearly. I would take, yeah. No if, no and no question more. I would take Odell's career over D Hop. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Super Bowl champion. I thought his first couple years in the NFL was definitely one of the best I've seen in a long time. Obviously Antonio Brown run and Julio run, who we just talked about, but Odell was right up there his first couple years. Like his first 2 years was like, yo, that dude was elite. So I think Odell's a better wide receiver. I think he could do a little bit more. I think he's a very good route. I don't say good route runner, but he could run some routes. He can make some tough catches. D Hop obviously is known for hands, right? And being able to make those explosive plays on the football field this time with Deshaun Watson was magical. But I think Odell was better, but I don't think that always translates to anything. Situation matters, right? And availability, what I just talked about with Julio matters, right? I talked about Julio not being able to stay on the field. Yeah, I don't know about Odell Beckham Jr. Can he stay on the field? And it goes beyond that. When you talk about D Hop and you talk about, why these teams made these moves, right? Odell, Ravens, Hop, the Titans. I feel that they both needed to make those moves, right? I understand we don't like the competitive rebuild notion. It doesn't make sense when you talk about the Tennessee Titans. And I agree. I hate it, but that's what they're embracing. So if you're trying to be competitive, even though it doesn't make sense, you need to be competitive by trading for a wide receiver. Because when you look at your weapons last year, I mean, they were at the bottom in receptions, the bottom three in receptions, receiving yards, catch rate, yards after catch. They needed to bolster that receiving core if they want to be allegedly competitive, right? And I think D Hop gets them closer to being presentable, not competitive, presentable. And I think there's a difference in the terminology there, right? Competitive is obviously what they think they're trying to do. Presentable means, all right, you're not going outside with a bonnet on your head. Presentable in the AFC South in particular. So I think it was a need that they needed. I think the Ravens, when you talk about Odell going there, they needed to make that move. Why? Because that was very crucial in Lamar Jackson staying there. Was Odell Beckham. That was the first domino, right? And that's why they put an extra, they gave him a 15 fully guaranteed, 15 million fully guaranteed. That's why they overpaid, because it was not only for his services, but is what the domino after him would do, which is to retain their quarterback in Lamar Jackson. And that's why everything was a domino. So I think off rip, the Ravens should not regret they move off rip because of the domino of Lamar Jackson going there. Now, the reason why I'm going to go with D Hop is because when I look at the Ravens, and it's mainly about the Ravens and the uncertainty with their offense, is why I'm going D Hop. I don't really think each guy is going to get 1,000 yards. Honestly, I don't even see any of these receivers getting 1,000 yards this year, to be honest with you. I think D Hop may scratch the surface of getting 1,000 yards. Maybe he'll be 1,052 or something like that, just barely. But I don't really look at these guys as going to be, like, on the stat sheet, very productive. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Baltimore, my guy. I mean, you got Rashard Bateman, you got Zay Flowers, who they drafted. Clearly, Mark Andrews is Lamar Jackson's favorite target, right? You got the running backs, J.K. Dobbins, who was pissed mad that he didn't get the ball in the red zone, right? Rashad Bateman came at the coaster because he wants the ball more. He feels he's underutilized, right? So there's a lot of egos here. There's a lot of mouths to feed. And guess what? You got Lamar Jackson. He's not going to run the football at all. Like he's going to be Matt Ryan now? Like he's going to throw for 6,000 yards like he claims? Like, nah, he's going to take away a lot of opportunities from Odell because he's going to run the ball. Like, you mean to tell me that Lamar Jackson sees a gap for a first down and there's no tackle in sight that he's just not going to run for that first down? No, he's going to run for that. Okay? I've seen it too many times. First read, I'm out of here. So we'll see if that changes. So because there's a lot of uncertainty over there, is mainly why I'm tapped into D-Hop, and I just got to go with him because, you know, he has opportunities. And we'll see if he can capitalize off of those opportunities.
Overall, what did you think of his decision to sign with Tennessee? I feel like when he first got released from Arizona a couple months ago, a lot of the narrative was, oh, he's ring chasing. He's going to go to Buffalo. He's going to go to Kansas City. But I feel like as more time went on, we kind of realized that maybe his market just wasn't as big as he thought it was. I still think that has a lot to do with the fact of when he was cut, considering a lot of these teams after the main part of the offseason, they already built a lot of their salary cap and just couldn't afford the money. I would put the Patriots into that category. Like they just were not willing to really overspend like $5 to $6 million more because they couldn't afford it. I am just really surprised that he ended up in Tennessee. Like I know that him and Vrabel have a relationship, but man, like I understand some people value money and that's fine. Like they could do that, no problem. But man, when this guy first got cut, I feel like a lot of the narrative was like, oh, this guy could help a team really get over the hump right away. And he's going to Tennessee, a team that quite honestly, like I think is going to be pretty irrelevant this year. Overall, it was pretty surprising to me that he ended up in Tennessee.
I wasn't shocked at all because it became evident from the very beginning that money was the incentive. So I wasn't shocked. Now, do I like the move? Yes and no. I would have preferred New England because of the reasons why I displayed when we talked about New England, because I want to see Mac Jones given an opportunity. I thought what happened to him wasn't fair individually as a quarterback. So D-Hop would have really given me an opportunity to assess Mac Jones in particular. So that's why, from a selfish perspective, I want to see that move. Now, I'm not mad at the Tennessee move because clearly he wanted money. He's a grown man. I can't tell him what his priorities should be, whether it be ring chasing or money. That's up to him. Now, I prefer him not going to Buffalo and Kansas City for selfish reasons. I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes with an extra weapon and he just won the Super Bowl with Juju as his number one. Like, I mean, come on. Like, I don't want to see that. You said?
They drafted a receiver in the first round too.
And they drafted a receiver in the first round. They got that dude, Justin Ross from Clemson, who nobody's talking about. I actually like that guy. I don't want to see him with D-Hop. And yeah, you know, Josh Allen is cool, but I don't want to see Josh Allen with him when you got Stephon Diggs and I'm about to say Kid Cotton. Dalton Kincaid is his name, right? I want to see that. So I think this move to Tennessee kinds of spreads the wealth a little bit. You know, I like to see the spreading of wealth. I think that although I'm like you, I'm high on Jacksonville this year, I think easy they should win this division. It gives them a team that they have to respect because on a good day, Tennessee, we all know, is going to be well coached. On a good day, they're going to be well coached, right? Ryan Tannehill was going to have his days where he could lose you a game, but he's going to have his days where it's like against the Packers last year in the Thursday Night Football. He looks good, right? Derrick Henry is still a man amongst boys. The defense is still solid. I won't say top 10, but they got some dogs in there, right? So this team on a good day is respectable. So there's a potential that, yeah, the Jaguars could sweep them on a year, but there's a potential that I will not be shocked if they split, because it depends on what Tennessee team you're going to get. So I like to see the spreading of wealth. I think you give the Tennessee a team that you have to respect, and now it's not Patrick Mahomes got this guy or Josh Allen got this guy, and it becomes obvious who we think is going to make the Super Bowl now. Like, nah, I want to see the wealth spread. So I like it. I think Treylon Burks, it does a lot for his development too, because he doesn't have to worry about the number one corner on him. Think about it like this, Zach, before I pass the mic to you. They're going to stack the box, obviously, with Henry. That's going to leave D-Hop one-on-one on the boundaries. He can make those contested one-on-one catches or whatever. And then Treylon Burks should be able to thrive off of that attention, because Treylon Burks, I still like the guy. I still think the kid has a lot of potential. Last year was rocky because of his conditioning and the asthma that he had that affected his conditioning. I think I saw some flashes of big plays last year. I would like to see that more often. I think we can. So I think really what these two moves does is it's not going to stop the stat sheet like we think. Like Odell's not going to have 1,500 yards, 600 yards, or Hop is not going to have 1,600 yards. He hasn't done it in a few years. But what it's going to do is improve the other receivers on these teams. The Zay Flowers, the Rashard Batemans, and the Treylon Burks, and all those guys over there. So I think that's where the real value is coming from. So I'll leave it at that.
All I'll say is, man, if you would have given me a team in like 2018, 2019 with Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, that would have been pretty lethal. But in 2023, not really sure it moves the needle the same way.
And it's funny, this is my last point, because both of these teams, it's hard for me to even assess these teams. Zach, you said that off air, that I believe it was the Ravens and another team that was Rams, right? That were very hard to assess going into the year. We don't know what to expect from those two teams, and I agree. But I think the Titans is a fascinating team. I'm not sure if I would be ready to put them in that category, but I think they're a fascinating team because they're doing the forbidden thing, which is competitive rebuild. That's like, it doesn't make sense. Right. So I'm very interested in seeing what they do. And when you talk about both of these teams, they have a lot in common. They both were primary rushers of the football. They were run first. Like the Ravens was all they knew. The Titans, they ran the ball behind Derrick Henry. They did not pass the ball a lot. So the fact that they are grabbing these receivers that used to be great receivers back in the day and trying to just adapt a little bit more is very polarizing to see if any of these two guys could be better than the other.
Absolutely. And I do think it's interesting too with Baltimore is like, yeah, they have really good weapons on paper, but at the end of the day, how is this offense going to work when we really haven't seen it yet? And when it comes to Tennessee, man, I understand Tannehill was banged up. He got hurt, but it is just wild how quickly their season really fell apart last year. And I think there is some reluctancy from Mike Vrabel. Like now that he is in charge, now that they got rid of John Robinson, Mike Vrabel is the Bill Belichick of the Tennessee Titans. He is making every important decision on and off the field when it comes to that team. And I think he's having a little bit of a hard time looking back at the last few years. Tennessee, they beat Baltimore in a playoff game. They made it to the AFC Championship game in 2019. They were the number one seed in 2021. I think Mike Vrabel is having a little bit of a hard time letting go and saying like, okay, that window was closed. We kind of missed it with that playoff loss to the Bengals. And I just think that this feeling in this direction the Titans are going in, it could be something that costs them in the future. As we know, we're not fans of competitive rebuilds on the show.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. We've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.